Throughout your journey exploring the Paldea region, you'll come across a huge variety of different kinds of Pokeballs, each having their own unique features and look. It's important to know what each ball does, as they can actually be extremely effective in specific scenarios. So this video will be a full guide to the different kinds of Pokeball in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and where you can get them from. Now you might be thinking that the regular Pokeballs, Great Balls and Ultra Balls are more than good enough for your playthrough, which is a completely fair comment. But this doesn't mean that you should disregard the other options. Whether you want a ball that specialises in catching a certain type of Pokemon, or one that increases its friendship when caught, here is a full list of all the options available. Firstly, we have the OG, the truly iconic, nostalgia-ridden masterpiece that is the Pokeball. I'm a bit of an old school Pokemon fan, so I try and catch all of my team members with these, even if the catch rate is abysmal when trying to get a higher level Pokemon. They're very effective in the early game and can actually be a viable option deep into the mid game as well. There's nothing flashy about them, they don't have an amazing catch rate, but they will get the job done. Pokeballs can be bought from any mart in the game for 200 Pokedollars each, so it's well worth stocking up on a ton of these so you're always prepared. Great Balls are up next, and honestly there isn't much to talk about here, they're just a better version of Pokeballs designed to be used in the mid game. I personally have never liked the design of these, so I don't tend to use them, but if Pokeballs aren't doing it for you anymore, you can pick these up at marts for 400 Pokedollars instead. Ultra Balls are the next step up from Great Balls, and are pretty much as good as it gets when it comes to Pokeballs that are easily accessible. These are a must-have when catching Pokemon in the late game, but try to use them sparingly as they cost a hefty 600 Pokedollars from marts. So only stock up on these if you're trying to catch an extremely powerful Pokemon or a legendary. Now we move on to the Pokeballs that are more situational with the Dive Ball. If it wasn't obvious by the name, this Pokeball is most effective when used on water, so if you're surfing around trying to find a water type for your team, it's well worth giving these a shot. You will have to progress a little bit in the game before you can gain access to all of the next Pokeballs, but once they appear in the mart, they cost a huge 1,000 Pokedollars each. Dusk Balls operate in the same way as Dive Balls do, except instead of working best on water, they work best at night or in a cave. Again, these cost 1,000 Pokedollars each, so don't waste them if you find some lying around Paldea. The Heal Ball is an underrated one in my opinion, because when you catch a Pokemon with it, it will fully restore its HP and get rid of any status conditions that it might have, which is really convenient. Also, the fact that it only costs 300 Pokedollars is a bargain. The only issue is that it's not the most effective when it comes to actually catching the Pokemon. Luxury Balls are basically exactly what they're called, they cost a ridiculous 3,000 Pokedollars each, but will increase the Pokemon's friendship over time when caught. So if you need that for an evolution of sorts, then it's definitely worth catching that Pokemon in this ball. Nest Balls are pretty useless, they cost 1,000 Pokedollars and increase in catch rate depending on how low leveled the Pokemon is. So for me, they're pretty much pointless, as you might as well just use a Pokeball. Netballs will work best on water or bug type Pokemon, so they do have some sort of use, but they also cost $1,000 each, so it's probably best to just stick to the old faithfuls. Repeat Balls are very situational, but not entirely that useful. They become more effective when you've already caught the Pokemon you're now facing, which could be beneficial in certain scenarios, but it's unlikely to help you much. For $1,000 each, I say they probably aren't worth it. Quick Balls on the other hand are pretty great. The sooner you throw one at a Pokemon in a battle, the more effective they are, so it's always fun to try and catch a powerful Pokemon within 2 minutes of encountering it. However, even if you throw it straight away, it doesn't have an insanely high catch rate, but it's a cool gimmick either way. And these also cost 1,000 Pokedollars. Timer Balls on the other hand work the opposite to Quick Balls. So basically the more turns that are taken in battle, the higher the catch rate is. These work well if you're trying to catch a legendary Pokemon and have been in the battle for a long time. They're 1,000 Pokedollars each to buy, and I'd recommend only ever getting a few at a time. If you find yourself trying to catch a Pokemon that is asleep, a Dream Ball is a good option. Unfortunately, this is all it's really good for, so they're kind of useless overall. Just to note, this is the first Pokeball on this list that you can exclusively get from the Port Marinada auction, which is where the rest of these Pokeballs are bought unless specified otherwise. The Fastball is again a very specific option, with it only being useful on Pokemon that usually run away quickly. They're not the best, but at least they serve some sort of purpose. Friend Balls work similarly to Luxury Balls, except they boost the Pokemon's friendship a little bit immediately rather than over time. Heavy Balls are pretty self-explanatory, they work best on heavier Pokemon. Level Balls become more effective when the level gap between your Pokemon and the wild one increases, so the lower the level of the wild Pokemon compared to yours, the better. Love Balls will work best on Pokemon that are the opposite gender to yours. And Premier Balls are the final regular Pokeballs on our list. They're purely for aesthetics, meaning that they have no specific requirements or a particularly high catch rate. They just look pretty cool. So that brings us to the best Pokeball in the game bar none, the Master Ball. You can only obtain one of these, and you'll have to progress through most of the story to get it. However, once you do, make sure to save it for a legendary, as the Master Ball will catch any Pokemon it's used on without fail. And that's our Pokeball guide for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. If this video helped you out, be sure to watch this other tutorial on screen now.